Hi, my name is Kara Picou, and today I'll be doing my informative speech. But before I begin, I will introduce my audience. Denise Picou, Terry Mills, Logan Mills, Michaela Mills. In 1914, the world had its first major non-war tragedy, losing thousands of lives on the world's first RMS steamboat that hit an iceberg that caused major damage, leading the ship to sink to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Titanic has inspired countless books, articles, and films. This story has also entered the public as a cautionary tale about the perils of human hubris. Today, I plan on telling you more about the Titanic other than the love story that is mainly talked about, the Titanic. So specifically, I will be going over the making of the ship, the sinking of the ship, and the movie that was made over the sinking of the Titanic. I will first go over the making of the Titanic. The Royal Steammaker Titanic was the world's largest steamboat in the world that was a part of an intense competition among rival shipping lines for the first half of the 20th century. On March 1909, the road began in Belfast, North Ireland, on the Harland and Wolff shipyard that was non-stop work on for 2 years. According to the history of the Titanic.org, the Titanic was 25 stories high and weighed 46,000 tons, and the largest moving object ever built. Once construction was done on May 31st, 1911, the RMS moved to berth for another year for fitting that workers installed funnels, engines, and the rest of the breathtaking interior. By April 2nd, 1912, the Titanic started their sea trials, but it was not complete. Not all the features were placed when the ship set sail on April 10th, 1912, on its way to New York City from Southampton, England. According to History.com, the Titanic set a speed record for the fastest average speed during a crossing that held a title for 22 years. Now that I've gone over where it came from, I will now go over how the devastating non-war tragedy happened. In history, the day that thousands of lives and loved ones. The Titanic was so publicized, the campaign went so far as to call the ship unsinkable. It took 3 years to build a ship and only took 3 hours for it to sink at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. According to the RMS Titanic, on Sunday of April 14th, 1912 at 11:40 p.m., the ship collides with an iceberg and a 93 gauge opens in the ship hull. Water floods into six apartments, drowning men at the bottom of the ship who were working on machines. Meanwhile, all the passengers felt was a small gash and continued on with their night. As the passengers were realizing what was going on after an hour since the hit, an evacuation started, lowering the first lifeboat that was designed to hold 65 passengers but only left with 28. In the book Sinking of the Titanic and Great Sea Disasters by Logan Marshall, 16 boats were processing on the terrible hours of rowing. They made women and children go first and then later on men. Sadly, they didn't even fill the boats up to full capacity, so they could have saved more lives that were lost. Lastly, this devastating loss influenced many of people to write books and make films. In December 1977, James Cameron released his movie, The Titanic. This movie took the world by its storm, just like how the sinking of the RMS Titanic. The Titanic movie by James Cameron had costed millions of dollars to make that turn out to be the highest grossing movie of all time. According to the Titanic universe, this movie stayed on top of the charts for 12 years. James Cameron wanted to make this movie as realistic as possible, giving the audience what it was really like to be on the night of the Titanic, besides the whole love story. This movie was 2 hours and 40 minutes long, purposely to make it the same length as it took for the ship to sink, which took 2 hours and 30 minutes. In the movie Titanic, the two main characters, Jack Dawson and Rose Duet, who fell in love throughout the movie as they met on the Titanic. According to an article over Titanic's facts, Rose and Jack were not real characters, but there was a few characters that was portrayed from the movie that was actually on the ship, which were Thomas Andrew, who was the builder of the ship, Molly Brown, who took over her lifeboat and saved passengers that were in the water, freezing to death, John Astor, who's a first-class passenger, and Merle Andrew, who was playing, I can't remember what instrument, was playing an instrument to calm down, to play music to calm down everyone on the ship to try to make that better. I have now gone over the making of the ship, the sinking of the ship, and the film that was made over it. Although that Rose and Jack were not real characters, or not really on the ship, this was still a devastating loss that took a huge toll on the world. Maybe next time you come across a Titanic movie, you can think back on the speech I gave y'all today and remember something from it that's not in the movie. That concludes my speech, and now I will show y'all my audience once again. Denise, Terry, Logan, Michaela.